Hollywood, where drama isn't just part of the script, it's a way of life. Egos clash, lawsuits fly, and professionalism is as flexible as a yoga instructor on a caffeine rush. And today's headline? Blake Lively's legal battle with Justin Baldoni, proof that in Hollywood, the drama doesn't end with cut. It follows stars straight into the courtroom. According to Lively, what started as a light, unscripted moment on set turned out to be the nightmare. She claims Baldoni couldn't keep his words or his lips to himself. Where one might take that compliment on one's body makeup as just a compliment, it was enough to take legal action for Lively. But it is not any other Hollywood lawsuit. Oh no. This one comes with leaked footage, conflicting evidence, and enough twists to make even the most die-hard celebrity gossip fan question what's real and what's just another act. Hollywood, the place where drama never sleeps. And today's headline? A so-called harassment scandal that's about to get as absurd as Hollywood itself. TMZ got their hands on the footage, and let's just say, it's about as shocking as a scene from a Hallmark movie. But we'll get to that in a moment. First, let's break down this so-called slow dance disaster and see how Blake Lively's claims are falling apart faster than a cheap red carpet dress. So, here's what's happening, or should I say, the body makeup controversy. Lively's lawsuit paints Justin Baldoni as the bad guy in what was supposed to be a simple, unscripted slow dance scene. According to her, Baldoni took it a step too far, leaning in, dragging his lips from her ear to her neck and whispering, "It smells so good." Now, let's think about that for a second. First, who compliments body makeup in the first place? Was this supposed to be some form of flirting, or was he just really impressed with the makeup team's work? Second, this happened on a film set, completely surrounded by cameras, crew members, and at least a dozen boom mics. If this was harassment, has to be, it is the attempt made in Hollywood history for the least subtle. Imagine a post-production editor rolling his eyes at that scene like, "Great, now I have to edit out a lawsuit." But the real kicker? When Lively supposedly confronted Baldoni about it, his reaction was the ultimate Hollywood move. He just shrugged and said, "I'm not even attracted to you." Wait, what? If this isn't straight out of the classic Hollywood gaslighting playbook, I don't know what is. That's like stealing someone's lunch and saying, "Joke's on you, I wasn't even hungry." Of course, Lively's side wants you to think this was totally a case of an unprovoked act, a random moment of creepiness by Baldoni. Well, wait till you hear the TMZ certified twist for this story. Yep, the footage is finally here, and guess what? It's not the scandal she's trying to sell. Hollywood loves a good, he said, she said. But what happens when there's actual footage? Enter TMZ, the ultimate source for celebrity drama, who got their hands on the infamous slow dance scene. Spoiler alert, it's less harassment and more like an awkward high school prom moment. So, what does the clip actually show? Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, laughing, holding hands and trying to make the scene look romantic. There's a bit of playful banter about body makeup, and at one point, Baldoni leans in and says, "Smells good." Shocking, right? Somebody call the FBI. But instead of just hearing about it, check out the clip yourself. Take note of the body language, the laughter, and the overall lack of anything that even remotely looks like harassment. Another day, another headline. Today's moment? Well, it's not as bad as it's being made out to be. It's just my body makeup, right? And they win. They won. All right, cut. I think we've got plenty. Yes, slow motion. It's going to be a 17-minute scene, see what I mean? It feels more like a behind-the-scenes blooper than a career-ending scandal. You've got Lively giggling, Baldoni making a harmless comment, and both of them clearly aware they're being filmed. Honestly, if this is harassment, then every rom-com ever made would deserve a class-action lawsuit. Even more puerile is that Lively's camp still expects us to believe that this somehow represents a smoking gun. Well, here is the kicker. If this is the best evidence they have, it would appear that this lawsuit is flimsier than most Hollywood marriages. Let's step back for a moment and appreciate the absurdity. According to Blake Lively's complaint, that scene was a completely awful invasion of her personal space. What we actually saw, though, looked a lot like two actors doing their job, pretending to be in love for the camera. Sure, Baldoni did comment about the body makeup, but that didn't seem like harassment in the least. So, he remarked about the way she stank. But is that harassment? Or a bizarre attempt at staying in character? You decide. Now let's speak of the setting. This was no private moment in some backlit corner of the set. Nope. This occurred in a room filled with crew members, cameras rolling, and probably a craft services table nearby, because nothing screams harassment like doing it in front of 20 witnesses and a recording device. And let's not forget the playful banter. Lively was giggling, talking about body makeup, and holding hands with Baldoni like it was prom night all over again. If this was truly an uncomfortable moment, she deserves an Oscar for hiding it. But no, she's framing it as this traumatic event Hollywood will never recover from. Honestly, the only thing traumatizing here is the second-hand embarrassment I'm getting from this lawsuit. This is where it gets even more like a Hollywood comedy. Lively claims Baldoni was caressing her with his mouth, whatever that means, while also making it clear that he's not even attracted to her. Pick a side, Justin. Are you creepy or just overly honest? Either way, this whole thing feels less like a serious allegation and more like the setup for a bad sitcom. And just when you thought it could not get any dumber, Lively's lawyers continue piling on in the attempt to show how that one instance can prove a course of conduct harassing her. Of course, by their argument, that pattern involves more snippy repartee than serious transgressions. If this is the new test for harassment, Hollywood's going to need a much larger courtroom. At the end of the day, they were only playfully acting for the camera, trying to make it look like two lovers dancing together, nothing more. She's laughing, clasping his hand, and they are not saying anything as their characters because it wasn't even going to make it into the movie, but she is playing the character still. Now, we come to the part of the saga when Blake Lively escalates in her lawsuit. She boldly throws her lot in with the Me Too movement, framing this as just the latest example of the deeply entrenched culture of harassment that pervades Hollywood. But here's the problem. This scandal has more holes than a pair of designer jeans. First off, Lively's claim of being a Me Too victim conveniently leaves out one tiny detail.
Context. Remember those text messages Baldoni's team produced? You know, the ones where Lively invited him to her trailer while she was breastfeeding? Yeah, those don't exactly scream harassment victim. It's giving mixed signals, to say the least. If Baldoni was so terrifying, why was she casually texting him like they were planning a coffee date? And then comes the infamous pornography claim. Lively claims the producer of Baldoni showed her offensive material on set. Sounds filthy, right? Well, here is the kicker. The so-called pornography was actually a totally, completely non-explicit photo of a couple holding their newborn baby immediately after a home birth. Yep, that's the smoking gun. What the jurors must have seen when they saw that one is a joke. When they see that, ladies and gentlemen, we present Exhibit A, wholesome family content. But let's circle back to the Me Too angle. By invoking such a serious and important movement, Lively seems to be relying on public sympathy to strengthen her case. The problem is, it's hard to rally that sympathy when the evidence against her tells a very different story. For every claim she makes, there's a text, a piece of footage, or some other detail that contradicts it. At this point, it feels less like she's fighting for justice, and more like she's fighting for headlines. Here's the problem with the Me Too movement. It's about holding real predators accountable, not using it for personal PR battles. Honestly, the more this case unfolds, the more it looks like Lively is exploiting a legitimate movement to settle a professional grudge. If this is her idea of justice, Hollywood might need to start handing out legal disclaimers with every casting call. And talking about Hollywood tricks, if there is one thing it knows how to do, it is turning lawsuits into full-blown media circuses. Blake Lively? She is proving to be quite the ringmaster. Before filing her lawsuit, she conveniently ran to the New York Times with her claims, setting the stage for a public narrative where she is the damsel in distress, and Justin Baldoni is the big bad wolf. Subtle, right? Here's how it played out. Lively files a complaint with the California Human Rights Office, which her legal team insists was purely procedural. But let's be honest, it's a PR move. Not long after, the juicy details somehow made their way to the Times. Coincidence? Sure, and I'm sure TMZ will stop covering scandals tomorrow, but it doesn't stop there. Lively isn't playing the victim. She is playing the media like a violin. She could leak selective pieces of information to the press that ensured the courts of public opinion got involved way before the real courts did it. It is the Hollywood way. Why get a judge if you can have Twitter on your side first? Of course, Baldoni didn't sit back. His team clapped back with their own media leaks, including footage and text messages that poke holes in Lively's narrative. Now, while she's busy painting herself as the voice of the oppressed, he's over here pulling receipts like he's running a boutique. And finally, the pièce de resistance. Lively wants a gag order. Yes, the same woman who almost sent her complaint by mail to the New York Times now wants Baldoni to stop dishing out information. Why? Because apparently her leaks are about justice, and his are just retaliatory. The hypocrisy here is almost poetic. It's like starting a fire and then complaining about the smoke. Here's the kicker. Lively's team insists that Baldoni's leaks are damaging her reputation. But let's be real. If your reputation is so fragile that a lawsuit can ruin it, maybe the issue isn't the leaks. Maybe the problem is that your scandal is as flimsy as a Hollywood alibi. Ah, the gag order, the ultimate Hollywood move when you're losing control of the public narrative. Now, Lively's team is scrambling to silence Justin Baldoni and his legal team, claiming their media leaks are ruining her reputation. Damaging? Honey, the only thing more damaged than her reputation is this lawsuit. Let's break it down. Lively has spent months feeding selective information to the press, spinning a tale where she's the hero and Baldoni's the villain. And now that Baldoni's team is playing the same game, suddenly it's unfair. Make it make sense. The irony is that her entire case relies on public perception, but went to the press before coming to court, made her complaints as public as possible, and invoked the number Me Too movement as a kind of moral shield. Now, when Baldoni responds with facts, suddenly it's retaliatory and unfair? Please. One-sided PR battles are most definitely the high road.
And let's not forget the timing. The gag order request came within hours of the release of footage that undercut her claims. It's almost as if Lively's team realized their smoking gun was more of a water pistol. At this point, the gag order feels less like a legal necessity and more like a desperate attempt to stop the bleeding. But here's the thing about Hollywood scandals. They're like wildfires. Once it's out there, you can't put it back in the bottle, or in this case, the courtroom. Baldoni's leaks are out, and there's no going back. Whether you are on their side or not, the leaks unveiled glaring inconsistencies to Lively's version of the story. Neither gag orders nor PR spin could alter this truth. So what does Lively's team want? Control. They want control of the story, control of the narrative, and most of all, the outcome. Truth is, playing the PR game will only give you cause to cry foul if the other end plays it a little better than you do. Now we get to the grand finale, where Hollywood proves it's not just a location, it's a mindset. This whole saga, from the allegations to the lawsuits to the media leaks, perfectly exemplifies everything we both love and hate about Tinseltown. At its core, this isn't a story about justice or accountability. It's about egos, reputations, and the constant chase for public sympathy. Blake Lively is playing the victim, but in Hollywood, it's hard to tell who the real victim is. Justin Baldoni stars as the tortured hero, while the rest of us, just an audience sipping our hot, buttered popcorn, waiting for it all to end. Of course, Hollywood scandals aren't about wrapping it all up into a neat bow. It's more about continuing the show through courtroom dramas, front page news, and that good old timer, timing your leak perfectly. So what's the big take-home lesson? Perhaps that is it. Hollywood will be Hollywood. It is a place where lawsuits turn into publicity stunts. The truth is what gets the most clicks, and the line between reality and performance is blurrier than ever. In the end, Blake Lively's lawsuit might get her some headlines, but it also revealed her as the ultimate contradiction. She is the star, writer, director, and producer of her scandal, and for that matter, her own demise. And honestly, that's the most Hollywood thing of all. Okay, show's over. Want some more drama? You know where to find us. Keep that popcorn ready. We'll handle the twists. Want to catch the next chapter in real time? Hit subscribe and buckle up.